Man, this is really good. Hey, have you read this? They should make a movie out of this.
They did.
They did? Wonder Woman is directed by Patty Jenkins, starring Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Connie Nielsen, Robin Wright, Danny Huston, and David Thewlis. This is the fourth film in the newly minted DC Extended Universe, or DCEU for short, and this film is, as you can guess by the title, all about the origin of Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot is reprising her role that she had in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and in this film we see her as a young Diana Prince on the Isle of Themyscira. And while she is there, one day a man washes up on shore, and that is Steve Trevor, portrayed by Chris Pine. And circumstances then dictate that she has to leave the Isle of Themyscira and immerse herself in man's world for the first time. And it just so happens that man's world is now in the thrust of a global war known as World War I. First thing I want to say is that it is great that we finally have a live-action Wonder Woman film. As a DC fan, like I've mentioned several times on my channel, I am so happy that this has finally happened. And not to mince any words, I do indeed think this is a great film. This is a film that I love for several reasons. First off, I want to really commend Patty Jenkins for directing the heck out of this movie. This is a director who hasn't had a lot of opportunities to make large budget films. The last film that she had really directed is Monsters, starring Charlize Theron, and that was done well over a decade ago. But this film is fantastic from a filmmaking standpoint. There are lots of moments of this film that deal with action, and Patty Jenkins directs action extremely well. There is one particular scene that I'm sure many people are familiar with. It is in the trailer. I won't give it away, but it is indeed as awesome as one would predict. There is a great way of shooting the action where there is a lot of slow motion that can become cumbersome sometimes, but I think it really fits kind of the overall action epicness of this world so far. It stays very consistent. Granted, if you're someone who doesn't like slow motion action, you're probably going to have a problem with it, but for me, who kind of like stylized action, I don't really have any of those qualms. Also, there was a lot of trepidation when it came to the casting of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman or as Diana Prince, and I have to say all of those concerns I think can be put to rest. She was above and beyond all of my expectations for the character. She was able to be extremely diverse. This film really dependent on her quality of acting and really her quality of character. This is, as I said, an origin film for the Wonder Woman character, so there is a lot of pressure on the lead actress of this film to really be able to capture all of the nuances that this character has, and she does do that. There is so much great meshing of theme as well as tone in this film that I think was very well done. Specifically in the character of Diana, she has to be so many different things. She has to be a fierce warrior, as well as have a lot of naivete when it comes to the world of man, specifically the world of man that she is being exposed to in this film. She is coming into our world at a very unique and different time. It is World War I, and it is very refreshing to see a film be set in World War I, because that doesn't happen very often in movies. It is known as the war to end all wars because it is such a grueling, such a violent war, such a war that has massive just casualties, and it's affecting so many millions of lives. What is most interesting about it is we come to the realization that our world is incredibly complex. It is incredibly moralistically ambiguous. Because Diana comes from this utopian island of Themyscira where everything is so bright, so vibrant, so beautiful, being surrounded by beautiful people in this beautiful place is a harsh contrast to when she gets to war-torn Europe and everything is so dark, so dirty, so drab. The colors are definitely muted. Having to see Gal Gadot's character of Wonder Woman deal with that is really fascinating. Chris Pine delivers a great performance as well. He has a wonderful rapport and chemistry with Gal Gadot on screen, and there's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of romance, there's a lot of drama, all within their relationship, and all of it is really well told on screen, and all really well balanced as well. But as much as I love the film, there are a few problems I have with it. One of the major problems in the film, I think, is the third act. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the first and second acts are so strong that the third act is almost weak just by proxy, but also because it's a little clunky in its execution of the climax of the film. And not that it's not entertaining or I would say satisfactory, it's just a little clunky. I would also say this is when the CGI kind of takes over in the film, and the CGI is very noticeable. The one problem I have with CGI, and it's not that I don't think it's an impeccably useful filmmaking tool, is that I really want it to be as least noticeable as possible. That's when it is at its best, and it's very noticeable in the climax of this film. Another negative aspect that I have with the film is that the villains that kind of permeate throughout the plot are rather underwritten and rather one-note. They're kind of there just to be villains. They're not really given much depth or really much to work with throughout the plot, which is kind of unfortunate considering that this film does the hero so well. I kind of wished it did the villain just as well. I think that also factors into why the third act is so problematic. While the film is unique in certain areas, it is rather formulaic when it comes to these superhero films. There have been so many of them so far that you can't help but kind of rely on a lot of formulaic kind of superhero genre tropes. And not that it's a bad thing, because I think it is done very effectively, it's very noticeable. So with all that being said, I'm going to give the film a rather high rating of 4.2 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it as a film, as a DC fan. There's a lot of comic book elements that are infused into this film. You'll definitely notice those. If you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.